Good morning, folks. Welcome into the pod at the Callus. Curtis Wilkerson, Scottie Bordelon here with you as always from Natty State Sports Studios in downtown Fayetteville. Is today the day?
God, I hope so, Curtis.
You and me both, brother. I think it is. Just a heads up to everybody who's tuning into this. We are recording on a Tuesday morning. We're going to go live when the Cal news becomes officially official. React to that. Let everybody get in the chat, give their own reactions. Should be a good time. But if you're listening to this particular pod later in the day or Wednesday or whatever, keep listening. Like you're not going to be behind. So you can check out that live stream. That's cool. We're talking about some other things, some big picture stuff with John Calipari taking over at Arkansas. So this one's definitely worth your time. Don't skip it, is what I'm saying. Stay with us here.
We've appreciated people not skipping the pods
Yes.
the last 3 weeks.
Thank you for all that. And it's easier for you guys to do when you look at the title maybe of the pod and you're like, do I want to listen to Vanderbilt beats Arkansas in Bud Walton Arena? No, probably not. But John Calipari coming to Arkansas, that's interesting. So shout out to Cal already for helping us out a little bit.
No doubt.
We'll go real quick on this because I think, God, I hope, like you said, by the time most people listen to this, this will just be a non-factor. I don't think there's anything to see here about any snags or concerns with the contract or Cal getting cold feet or whatever. This whole deal, Scottie, about him not informing Mitch Barnhart that he's taking another job or breaching his contract, it's a nothing burger. It doesn't matter. He's either fired with cause and he doesn't get his money, or he's leaving and coming to Arkansas and he doesn't get his money from Kentucky. Either way, he's gone. There's no coming back from this. It doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah, that was, just full transparency. Yesterday, we walk in here at, what was it, like a quarter until 5? Mm-hmm. And we're getting ready to basically do this pod yesterday.
Yeah, dude.
And, you're getting notes and stuff together, and then we come in here and sit down, and then I'll be honest, like, I was waiting to start, and then I could tell that you were in your phone for some reason, and then you start like reading some of the things that you're seeing on Discords and boards and whatever, and it already gets hot in this room from like 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
It's crazy.
And I just I turned as red as that Felix Jones jersey and those names that are on the board behind you. I was ready to knock it out, but, reports were that, what was it? Cal was trying to find a way to stay. Is that what was being said?
Yeah, it sounds crazy hearing he's trying to find a way to stay.
And so, it's obviously it's very reasonable to kind of get hung up on that. And then Dan Wolkin and Brandon Marcello put out reports yesterday as we were leaving the office. We opted not to do the pod yesterday, the second one, and just kind of let things play out. But, it seems like a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
And folks over there have essentially moved on with their lives.
Right. Yeah, that was I'm not entirely sure what they were trying to accomplish, Kentucky media, with some of that. But I get it. I mean, it's a major story here and there, whatever.
Yeah.
But a couple things that stand out to me about this. One, Razorback fans, y'all just got to relax a little bit. I know it's tough. I get it. That's why I put out a GIF yesterday. Just try to inhale and exhale. Just breathe a little bit. You can't rush some of these things. Everybody's like, why isn't it official yet? Where's the tweet? Where's the airplane? Where's the press conference? This stuff is a process. Like, it takes time. It has to make its way through multiple formal votes to be able to become official. And no, nobody at Arkansas is going to vote against John Calipari being the next coach.
Yeah.
It's just the process that you have to go through. These things are complex. This contract is going to be a lot more in-depth than my contract here at Natty State Sports. Like, I just looked all the way through Eric Musselman's contract when we did a FOIA. Wound up getting his old one. It's 20 pages long. There's multiple levels to this. There's incentives. There's considerations. There's so much stuff that goes into it. Then it has to go through legal and get approved through them. And then you got to get it to Cal, and Cal's people have to look through it. And they probably have to make some tweaks. And it's a process. It's okay. It's going to take a little bit of time. And also, what people have to consider is this is an event. I never expected this press conference to happen on Tuesday, and I would be outright stunned if it's just not going to happen. If it was going to happen today, we would have already heard about it.
Right.
If it's like some kind of crazy spur of the moment thing, I'd be shocked by that because this is John Calipari. This is an event. This is not a midweek non-conference basketball game against South Dakota State presser. This is going to be crazy. It's going to be a showcase. It's a national event with a lot of attention and a lot of eyes. The spotlight is going to be on Fayetteville for this in a way that it hasn't been since the turn of the century.
Yeah.
It's going to be a show. So, like, prepare for that. Just trust the process. It should wrap up soon.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you on that. And I was thinking back to when Eric Musselman got hired. You know, there was obviously the big introduction on the court. You know, when he gets up there and talks and does the Q&A with Chuck, and obviously Hunter talks. But then after all that was over, fans and, you know, a lot of other people file out, and then we go into the interview room to talk, like in the post-game press conference room. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I don't either.
Like, I feel like, what was it, last summer when the Suns hired Frank Vogel, or when the Suns got Kevin Durant. Like, they literally had the press conference in the arena to accommodate everybody that was going to be there.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I don't feel like this is going to be an in the interview room type of deal, because I mean, the public is probably going to be allowed to come there. It's going to be packed. There's going to be a bunch of people in the seats. There's going to be a ton of people down on the floor. And I imagine it's like the press conference is just going to happen in the same place that the introduction happens. Like, it's going to be, like you said, it's going to be an event probably.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, there's going to be, I mean, you think about all the outlets that are talking about, we've got national college football analysts, you know, reporting on this kind of stuff. Like, ESPN's going to be there. CBS Sports is going to be there. Fox is going to, like, everybody's going to be there. It's not just going to be, you know, me, you, and Bob.
Yeah, you don't hire arguably the biggest name in college basketball and then have like a standard press conference.
Right. I just hope to be able to get the mic for a question. Like, I mean, it's going to be an event, and I'm looking forward to it. And yes, relax, everybody. It's going to happen. But I think the point is, like, everything is magnified when Coach Cal is involved. For example, and this is kind of the first thing I want to talk about before we start talking about dudes and players and rosters and everything like that. Arkansas basketball has a grand total of 0 scholarship players right now. It
Correct.
is Lawson Blake against the world. But Arkansas basketball has the 14th best odds at plus 3,000 to win the national title next season. Those were released right after the game. You think that's telling? You think that's a little bit telling of the Cal factor?
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
There is an absolute trust that dude is going to get dudes into Fayetteville and have Arkansas, at least in a position from a talent perspective, to be really, really competitive.
I looked at Oaklawn, Oaklawn's app last night. I won a bet last night. Shout out to me.
Hey, yo.
It ended a long skid. But I looked at the odds for next year for 24-25, and Arkansas had tied for the 8th best odds.
Oh, wow.
By
It's even
Oaklawn.
higher there.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember what the odds were exactly.
Yeah.
I would think it was like plus 2,500 or plus 3,000, but
Okay.
they were tied for the 8th best odds by Oaklawn.
There you go,
Which
man.
is incredible.
Yeah, it's nuts.
They
It
don't
makes
have
no
a scholarship guy on the roster. And
You don't have a player.
Technically, they don't have a coach yet. Like, officially have a coach yet.
Is this even a program?
Oaklawn's already trying to throw Arkansas in the second weekend.
Yeah, man. It's nuts. And make no bones about it. We'll talk about it and we'll promote it because that's what we do. But these way too early preseason top 25s, they don't mean anything. Like, everybody's roster is getting ready to flip around the country. But it's interesting, and we're talking about that Cal factor again already showing up. John Fanta, our guy, the man who picked Arkansas to win the national championship
The
this past year.
USGWA Rising Star.
That's right. Fox Sports, Field of 68. Everybody knows who Fanta. Everybody loves Fanta. He's got Arkansas as his preseason number 20 team in the country without them having signed a single player or having an official coach yet. That is very, very telling.
Yeah.
And I always like going through and reading some of these. I remember a couple years ago, a lot of people, they were having Arkansas number 1 in their preseason. But I would look at them just to kind of see what the initial expectations are. And a lot of these folks, a lot of them don't have Arkansas in it. But like I looked at ESPN's, it has Kentucky in their top 25 with a lineup that could very realistically all be wearing Razorback jerseys in November. Yahoo Sports had Kentucky at number 14.
Wow.
For that very reason. I read Sam Vecini's over at The Athletic. He had Kentucky in there, and essentially what he was saying is this entire thought process was before this happened with Kaus. Like this could flip.
Yeah.
Like we could literally just sub one name out and put the other one in, kind of deal. So,
but that brand is going to attract a coach, and that coach is going to, coupled with the brand, get players.
That's right.
It's understandable.
It's like everything you read about Kentucky right now will probably be said about Arkansas as soon as this is official and flip season begins.
Yeah. I mean, the first line in the ESPN way too early top 25 for Kentucky is, quote, "This is a complete shot in the dark at this point." And then they do a projected starting lineup. It's Jeff Borzello, not they. Jeff Borzello. Projected starting lineup: Boogie Flan, Travis Perry, Billy Richmond, Jaden Quainance, and Big Z.
I heard at least 3 names that could be Razorbacks, at least 3.
Yeah. I mean, we put all 5 of those guys on the big board that includes, Kentucky commits / signees on Flip Watch, and then, potential poaches from Kentucky. I think Big Z would be interesting. I think him and Cal developed a pretty unique relationship in his 1 year at Kentucky and during the recruiting process and stuff. But yeah, it's the last line. So it goes from "this is a complete shot in the dark at this point" to the last line: "expect plenty of fluctuation" with Kentucky's ranking. So yeah, exactly. That's just where this whole situation is.
I was just looking at Rothstein's. He just put his whatever he does, the Rothstein 45 or whatever, out as you were talking there. He's got Kentucky at 19. It's just with the exact same guys. I'm going to keep scrolling here for just a second just to see if he might even have Arkansas in there somewhere just because. But what you'll see is the people who just put the teams out in a ranking, most of them will have Arkansas in it. But the ones who actually give you here's the projected starting lineups and the rotation and everything like that won't, because you just can't do that for Arkansas right now. And he's gotten, so he doesn't have them in for this, but it's just fascinating.
So Borzello does not have Arkansas obviously in the top 25, and then he's got 5 schools next in line to kind of round out a top 30. Arkansas is not in that 5 either.
Interesting.
Which for now is understandable, but let's revisit in a month.
Let's revisit 1 week from right now. That's how I feel about this.
That sounds better than a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot better than a month.
Oh, my goodness, man. Wild times. We're going to move on and talk about some of this roster stuff. But before we do, I want to tell you about our friends over at Signature Bank. Signature Bank is a privately held boutique bank that's redefining the banking experience in our region. They blend the warmth and familiarity of a community bank with the sophistication of a commercial bank and the expertise of private banking to deliver unmatched levels of experience. You want to look for reasons to bank with Signature. They're personally invested, business-minded, community-focused, right-sized, and forward-thinking. Make sure you check out one of their Arkansas locations or visit them at www.signature.bank to learn more. Okay. I went on a little jog. I had to clear my mind after got out of the office yesterday. But the problem with that is when I do that, I listen to stuff, and it's usually not music. I usually tune into different sports podcasts, or, I'm trying to get a laugh. I'm listening to Theo Vaughn or something,
Sure.
But I was listening to the Field of 68 guys because they were doing their pregame stuff, and we knew right before we left, we saw that they were talking about Cal, Arkansas, and everything. But one of the guys was teeing off about how Cal just, has he learned from his mistakes? Is he gonna adapt the way he builds a roster, not relying on youth so much and only supplementing it with experienced players. The freshmen get you through a regular season, but they haven't had the tournament success because of that. All those things. Talent has never been in question with Cal. We know that. So much as the roster building strategy of things. So many people out there have been questioning. I've heard this a lot now, like whether or not he will adapt the way he does it. Scottie, I say to you, he doesn't have a freaking choice. He doesn't have a team.
Yeah.
He's not going to get all 6 of those high school guys over to Arkansas. He might get half of them. He might get more than half of them. He ain't going to get all of them. He's going to have to build a majority of his roster through the portal. So this change that everybody feels so strongly needs to happen, it has to. Like there's no way around it. So maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think the potential flips from the commits and signees, I think that's a good place to start. But yeah, you're right. Like just looking at some of those names over there, like that's how you're going to have to fill out that roster. And maybe there are a couple of Arkansas guys in the portal that he could go after. I mean, there's 4 of them. Is that right? 4 of them. T-Mark, KB, Devo, Blocker.
Yeah.
Maybe he snags one. Maybe he talks KB into coming back. Like I'm not. My father-in-law actually asked me yesterday. He was like, "Who do you think is most likely Arkansas player who's in the portal right now to come back when Cal is the coach?" And I'm like, off the top of my head, I would say Caleb Battle.
Yeah. Who tweeted that he's going to be the best guard in the country next season last night, by the way.
I saw that.
Love that.
I saw that. I love it. I hope, like, I just really enjoyed covering KB. People want to have their different opinions on him and maybe attitude, locker room presence, that kind of stuff. But I really grew to really like him a lot. But yeah, I mean, it's going to have to be a lot of portal stuff, and that's just the way that you have to do things now.
Oh yeah.
Like, and he like really, there are still kids in the 2024 class who are uncommitted, right? So even if Cal like brings say 3, there's still uncommitted kids that he might be able to talk into coming to Arkansas too. Who knows? But yeah, a majority of the roster is probably gonna have to be transfers. There's no doubt.
And when you have 13 scholarships to fill and funny money to do it with, like, here's the deal. You better make your buddies in the Tyson family feel smart about making this investment.
Sure.
Right? And go get some dudes. If there were ever a time for a wake-up call from that standpoint or a time to make some changes or whatever, this is it. And it's a clean slate. We've said the term blank canvas a lot. And this is one of the things I want to ask him about. Like, how much do you relish in this type of challenge of just having it's a fresh start for you, but it's also it's just a fresh start period. Like, you don't have there's no returners. There's nothing but just a blank piece of paper in front of you to fill out your roster with. How do you want to build it? What do you want it to look like?
Yeah.
Like, there's part of that that's probably, well, it'd be terrifying for me. It won't be for them because I'm telling you right now, they've got multiple guys ready to pop. Right. I mean, it's just going to happen. That's how they operate, man.
Yeah.
But I just wonder how much of that was part of the allure for him to just be like, I can go in here and just do this differently now.
Yeah, just do it however you want. Yeah. I mean, I think based on maybe the way it's trending, it would be a pretty nice mix of youth and experience. And I think that's always good because I think you like having fearless young guys who go out and hoop because they don't know any better and they just kind of let their talent take over. And then, maybe kind of the leaders of the team and guys who really push a roster forward are the guys who have been in the game for a long time, like like I'm maybe I'm dreaming here, but like a big cliff. Like he's been in school for 4 years already, knows the lay of the land and the college game, and yeah, it's got to be super exciting. It's almost like, you know, you create a dynasty or you create a franchise mode on 2K or whatever, and then you do you kind of do a draft, so to speak, and you just kind of you get excited thinking about the possibilities of what your front court can look like and how they complement the back court and vice versa.
Sure.
You can just make it kind of look however you want. I'm excited for, I texted you this last night, like that first Arkansas has contacted so-and-so in the transfer portal post-hire is going to hit so hard. It's going to hit like a Tyson haymaker. Like it's going to be really fun. I'm ready to start seeing what they're piecing together.
For sure. And, you know, I don't have any problem at all with having not a reliance, but, you know, it's just really investing in your young guys, especially the ones that are as talented as Cal's going to be able to bring in. I think in terms of just of dudes, though, out of the transfer portal, it's not like you have to go get 10, you know, absolute studs. And I think Cal's smart about some of his roster building. I could look back at some of the guys he's brought in. Like I think about the CJ Frederick dude. Like you go get role players like that who can come off the bench for you or whatever. Like I think he'll do some of that. In terms of absolute dudes out of the portal, though, I think you mentioned Big Cliff. I think you've got to have an experienced, proven, rim protecting big.
Yeah.
He stands out for a ton of reasons, and then also because there's been some contact there already. Mm-hmm. I think about Umar Ballo, who hit the portal yesterday. He might be the first one that we hear about. Arkansas coach John Calipari has reached out, you know. Now, that'd be exciting. That'd get the people going. I think that, and then tell me what you think about this. I think an experienced, proven point guard, lead guard in the backcourt. And I think that's something that has hurt those Kentucky teams in past. Like Antonio Reeves is great. He's not a point guard.
Yeah.
And you got the ball in DJ Wagner's hands, Rob Dillingham's hands, whoever. Those guys are awesome. It's different.
Dillingham's a scorer.
Yes.
The ball's in Reed Shepherd's hands. He's setting the table or putting up a three. And Reeves was, you know, he could, I guess, initiate offense or facilitate at times, but he's a scoring guard. A name like, BJ Freeman. BJ Freeman at Milwaukee he's 6'6", 200, so he's got great size, really good frame, and he's a guard, right? Like a point guard type guy.
Big one.
He's a big one. Like he was 110th in the country in assist rate, which is not easy to do.
Yeah, at that size.
Yeah, at that size.
Very intriguing.
It's crazy. I'm looking at BJ Freeman's game logs right here. He had a double-double last year in points and turnovers. But you look at,
did he really?
Yeah, he did against Detroit Mercy.
Oh God!
In a 23-point win. That may be the wildest stat line I've ever seen.
Isn't that the Detroit Mercy team that was like the last Division I team to get a win?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, went 1-31 last year. I don't know. But yeah, he's super intriguing, and I was doing some reading on BJ because BJ Freeman was a mutual Arkansas-Kentucky contact when the staffs were, with the previous staffs intact. One of the best scorers in that program has ever seen, had one of the best 2-year runs that Milwaukee has ever seen. Pretty good three-point shooter. I just think he's got like 6'6", 200 at your point guard spot. Like that's daunting size at the one. Mm-hmm. That's daunting size at the one, and a lot of schools are going to have like a 6'2" or 6'3" guy matched up on him, and you've got the matchup advantage every night with a guy like that.
Yeah, for sure. For what it's worth, I think BJ Freeman is probably a guy to get fairly familiar with. From everything I've gathered, Kentucky was in a really good spot with him before all this went down. So, I imagine a lot of that's because of Cal and maybe some of the staff guys that are going to come with him as opposed to Kentucky. But that's probably one to be pretty aware of there. I think I'm with you on that. I would love for him to get a proven shooter, whether that's a guy who comes off the bench or not. I don't care. But that's one thing about young guys that you just don't know how it's going to translate right away. And God, I just cannot watch another team that shoots 30% from three. So let's go get a dude who can do it for you.
Eyes, man.
Man, oh man. Who was the guy? Who's the dude from Davidson that they had 2 years ago at Kentucky? Grady? Was that his name? Kellen Grady?
Kellen Grady, yeah.
A dude could shoot it.
He could.
Get a guy like that. That would be fun.
For sure. Yeah, I'm looking at, go back to BJ Freeman for a second. Second game of the year last season. First game that he played, 33 points, 10 rebounds at the point guard spot against Providence. That was against a Providence team that at the time I think was projected to do a lot of really good things this year. It was a really good defensive team, and he's just BJ Freeman is just a hooper, dude. He really is. He's him and Big Cliff are probably, they may be 1-2 in terms of like on my want list.
Yeah,
big time.
That'd be a heck of a start, especially if you're able to pull off some of these flips that we've been paying attention to. So maybe we move on to that a little bit here. It's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Sure.
Here's the thing, though. You think about, we have to kind of adjust our mindset from not just like what would typically happen at Arkansas if this was the case, or what would have happened with Muss or in general. It's just different with Cal. And I'm having a hard time like switching that gear in my mind.
Sure. I just about read you BJ Freeman's fouls drawn per 40 minutes number.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I feel like I'm programmed to do that after the last 5
guard.
years.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, free throw merchant. Okay. Yeah, no, that's exactly
absolutely.
right, man.
From the Horizon League.
Yeah. It's a weird shift. It's going to take a little bit of time to get used to. But as far as these freshmen are concerned, let's talk about flip season here. It sounds like Cal might have some fences to mend a little bit. I don't think it's going to be that crazy, though. Like, there's a lot of chirping out there that part of this whole thing with Arkansas happening so under the radar and quietly was that like the players and the recruits and their families like didn't really know about it until it started breaking on social media. So like that could leave a sour taste in people's mouth, but it's also part of the business side of things. Like,
sure.
you don't want that getting out too early. I'm sure it could tick off some kids, some parents, whatever. But then I think there's just a conversation to be had, and there can be some understanding there. Like I get it on the surface level, but I think if you sit down and explain to people like, hey, like this is what was going on. What if it fell through and I'm back here? Like I can't have that leaking out that I was, in negotiations with Arkansas. Then I got to come back to Kentucky. There's reasons for that, and
sure.
it's not selfishness or anything. It's just business, I think. So I don't think it's as big of a deal as maybe some people are making it out to be. Now, what I will say is I would imagine some of these guys in that class, and some of them kind of already indicated at it, they might wait and see who the new coach is over there at Kentucky before they really make a decision. That's part of it. But I think Arkansas will have a leg up because Cal's already got all those relationships developed, and he's going to be able to start selling it while Kentucky's in the middle of a coaching search. Yeah. It ain't going to be Jay Wright. It ain't going to be Nate Oates. It doesn't sound like it's going to be Dan Hurley based on public comments yesterday and last night. So I don't know, Scott Drew? They really think they're going to go get Billy Donovan? I don't know who the heck they're going to get, but I don't.
I don't either. Well, we were looking into these high school guys yesterday, and I think it was Santos Cyril, and I think he was talking about just the relationship that he'd built with Cal, as one of the primary reasons that he, committed to Kentucky, and that's pretty standard recruiting speak, I feel like, from a kid. But we've even talked about, like, a lot of people have talked in the past about, kids went to Kentucky for Cal. Like, it's not a shot at Kentucky, but they went to Kentucky because Cal was there. And so, yeah, he's got a lot of pull, got a lot of relationships, and yeah, I don't think you cannot at all discount, the time and the resources that he's already put in with these kids to get them, to either commit or sign. And it's not just like building a relationship over the course of a week. It's a long, drawn out process with recruiting and stuff. And he's well in with a lot of these kids, obviously.
No doubt about it. Let's just run through some of these guys real quick and just kind of talk about maybe where things are at with them right now. It's kind of hard to say. In some cases, it's going to take a little bit. Like you just talked about all those relationships and everything. It's going to take a minute for a guy like me or us or whatever to develop a relationship. Like Arkansas wasn't recruiting most of these dudes, so the only one I've ever exchanged any messages with or whatever is like I've had a little bit of interaction with acquaintance. That's about it. Like a lot of these guys weren't really on the radar, and I never really saw things that, materialize and whatnot. So that's going to take a minute, but you can talk to their people. Different beat writers who've covered it and get a little bit of a pulse about what's going on. But at any rate, Carter Knox has officially decommitted and opened things back up.
That was an interesting hour and a half with his, did he decommit or not?
Yeah, we were going from the eclipse to the phone. Eclipse to the phone on kind of the back and forth. It was really funny.
The initial report was like his dad told somebody that he's opening his commitment, and then the dad came back and said, no, he's not. And then
the kid
told Joe Tipton, was like, yeah, man, I'm wide open.
Yeah. So really weird deal.
And then Ellis, he had maybe the line of the day yesterday. He was like, I believe Joe Tipton more than the kid's dad.
Yes. No, seriously. Tipton knows.
But come on, there's some truth to it, I think.
Yeah, it's really funny, man. But he has officially decommitted. Eyes on Arkansas here. That's I think he was one that really stood out right away as maybe at the top of the potential flip list there. So we'll see. South Florida, I think, is worth a watch. His brother playing down there, and honestly, don't sleep on South Florida. Like, it's a good program. I don't know if AAR is going to be their coach next year with the dominoes that are going to be falling here. But that's something to keep an eye on.
If you get South Florida to win a regular season conference title, dude, you deserve another job.
Right. At the same time, Arkansas, SEC, Cal, NIL, you got a lot in your favor there.
Oh yeah.
So I like where that one's at early on. I felt like one of the better shots all along has been with Billy Richmond. It seems like a lot of people feel like that might be the case too. We'll see. A lot of Memphis ties with him, so that'd be a hell of a couple wings to get things started with if they're able to pull that off.
I want to say I misspoke earlier about the quote great relationship with Cal. That was Billy Richmond that said that, not Cyril. But I would imagine if Cyril got on board with Cal at Kentucky, there's a good bond there. But yeah, Billy Richmond's he's interesting because his dad played for Cal at Memphis in the early 2000s, which it's crazy that his kid's now committed to Cal in the same, like 20 some odd years later. It's just, that's insane to me. But he's from everything I've looked into about him, he's super intriguing, and I believe he's left-handed. There's what they say about guys with left-handed, they're brilliant.
You said it. Jaden Quaintance, this one is I might be getting some conflicting reports to some of the stuff that's been out there. We'll see what happens here. Obviously, it came out through some Kentucky beat writers that he's open to staying at Kentucky and will probably prefer that. Obviously, wants to see who the coach is going to be and everything. Likes Lexington a lot, so he's probably going to wait that one out. I'm told that a flip to Arkansas is still a very real possibility here, and that there's even a chance that he could entertain like some of the other schools that were recruiting him too, like Missouri, I think Florida maybe, or some Ohio State, I don't remember. I know Missouri was in the mix there. I think Arkansas's got maybe a better chance than what was led on midday yesterday. I'd call it maybe a coin flip situation right now. And I think it might take like a visit. Get him to campus, get him comfortable, reestablish those relationships. I know his dad is one that said, hey, we're going to rock with Cal. The NIL bag. Then you might be in a good spot. So it might take a little bit of legwork here, but I would not rule that one out at all, I don't think, personally.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the acquaintance was also recruited by Missouri, Ohio State, Florida, and then the G League.
Florida's got its own set of problems. So
yeah. Speaking of Florida, there's a little bit of intel coming in that JP Pegues is he might be headed there, which is heartbreaking. So you might have to do this by yourself for about 5 minutes while I cry it out. But
yeah, go let it out.
Do you mind?
No, it's fine. Get composed, and I'll hold down the fort until you're back. I understand. It's tough.
It's tough
when you lose a loved one like that. It's not ideal. It's okay. I tell you what, a brief moment of silence for Arkansas's loss of JP Pegues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh man. Anyway, back to the big fish. Somto Cyril. This guy's really interesting. I don't have a feel on that one just yet. He's been committed to Kentucky and Cal for a long time. In fact, like I think over the summer last year, there was some thought that he might reclass and join them for this past season. He didn't do that. I don't really have a good feel for that one, so I can't say one way or the other. In my opinion, though, you really need to get at least one of those two big fellas.
Yeah,
like you need to get him
Yeah.
or Acquaintance one. If you get them both, that's freaking awesome.
That's unreal.
But you got to get one of them.
Yeah.
So whatever. Boogie Flan, that one's really interesting to me. I mean, he's maybe the prize of the class. Like that dude is, he can go. If he opens back up, like there's going to be really stiff competition there. I think he's in that Nike Hoop Summit thing this week, and so he might wait it out if he's focused on that. I don't know. He might wait and see who Kentucky hires. He feels like it might be a tough one to keep, but it's Cal, man.
Yeah.
And if he's as good as we think he is,
comes back to that.
Yeah, Cal feels the same way about it. So you can't rule Arkansas out with any of these dudes. I know Alabama. I know Nate Oates is just like he's drooling at the thought of this dude coming back open.
For sure.
But you think Cal's going to come to Arkansas and have any interest in losing his, like his best commit to freaking Nate Oates? I don't know about
Probably
that.
not,
So we'll see. You might have to pony up. But yeah, it's just going to be.
He'd be worth ponying up for.
Oh yeah, he would. It's just such again. It goes back to this shift in mindset that we and everyone else is going to have to make in terms of like you can't rule anything out. Like there would be guys, in the past who would come available that we would just have to move on from. And listen, Muss did a hell of a job in the portal. I mean, they were terrific. But like even with some of the smoke that was blown out there, like when Hunter Dickinson went in the portal last year, you were like,
Yeah, that's
you never
not,
really,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Never really
like,
believed.
Yeah. If he entered the transfer portal today, I'd immediately be like,
yeah, that's what we did with Ballo yesterday.
Exactly. That's exactly what we did with Ballo. If Muss was still the coach and Ballo hit the transfer portal, I wouldn't even talked about it on the pod.
I mean, even it's same with Big Cliff too.
Yep.
It's like he's going to be one of the most sought after, coveted guys in the portal. And like, sure, Arkansas, the previous staff contacted him, but who hasn't? I mean, everybody in their right mind did, but it feels more likely that you're in the game. I mean, there's a big difference in obviously contacting and being like in on a kid. who's that big of a name. It feels more realistic that you can just go out and big game hunt.
Oh yeah,
that's legitimately big game hunting, and you're a big player in the game.
No doubt about it. Yeah, and a lot of I think about some of the things we said the last couple of weeks, like in that regard of even like I think about some of those Ivy League guys, like or maybe like the Raynaud kid from Stanford, the big fella, and it was like, but somebody really going to go from from Stanford to Fayetteville?
Yeah,
for Cal you would, and because some people, especially if you listen to like an ESPN broadcast, don't understand what Arkansas is and can be as a basketball program, but they ain't gonna be lost on nobody now. It's just a game changer, man. Cal also coached a full team at Kentucky last year. He's obviously going to have several guys who are going to be in the draft and probably move on to their professional careers. I know that you spent some time looking at their roster too. Does anybody stand out to you? And if they don't, that's fine. But maybe as like a potential poach candidate or two. I'll start by saying I'm not seeing it with Bradshaw.
Yeah.
I know I think him hitting the portal yesterday was just a coincidence. Like my understanding is he was going to do that anyway.
Right.
So I don't necessarily see that
I think
one
we've
happening.
been waiting on that one to drop like since the Oakland loss.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think I've got 4 guys down. It's Adu Thiero, DJ Wagner, Bradshaw, and Big Z.
Thiero, he's already in the portal.
He is in the portal. Bradshaw entering. I don't know if he's officially in yet or not.
Said he was going to. Yeah. Right.
Wagner's got like some, from what I found, I think he's got some second round NBA draft chatter around him. And there's a guy that I did not put on the list yesterday. It was Justin Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Edwards has also got some second round chatter to him, but maybe the numbers this past year don't jump off the page, obviously, but I think it's a projection thing with him. Do you want to run it back one more year? Potentially with Cal here. That's another name that I might keep an eye on. I might throw him on the list today a little bit later, but I think the Arrow is interesting. Like, he's a projected first-round guy in 2025. I remember Borzello put that in his he declared for the draft this year, and he's also, I think, he entered the portal. Another projection guy that, I remember when Arkansas played Kentucky and Bud, me and you were talking about, like, this dude's just out there getting cardio.
Yeah.
But then again, I think he had a pretty nice game in Rupp. But I'm keeping an eye on him. I think he's super talented. And you look at his phrase, 6'8", 222.
He's 6'8" now?
Yeah, he's 6'8".
Holy cow.
Yeah, he's a big dude. He is a big dude. He when he got to Kentucky, he was 6'6", 200. Now he's 6'8", 222. So the kid's filling out, still growing. And that's why I think he's a projection pick in the NBA. But yeah, I would keep an eye on him. I think he had 15 against Gonzaga this past year, 16 against Kansas. He had 16 and 13 against Kansas early in the season. Like, this kid can freaking play. I
wonder if he'd be interested in a reunion. Like, it's one thing. A lot of times you see a kid hit the portal, and it's like they want it. Like, they don't like the coach. They want to get out of it. Whatever. That doesn't necessarily have to be the kid. Like, it's sometimes you just want a fresh start and different opportunities or whatever. I don't know what his relationship was like with Cal, but when you don't have a roster, that maybe more opportunities are,
Yeah.
So I would not. I know you're not saying that, but I'm saying I would, for people who are like, well, didn't you just transfer from Kentucky? Well, it doesn't mean you automatically rule it out.
Right.
So that'd be really interesting to see. I mean, listen, who's number one on my list and in my heart? It's Big Z.
Yeah.
Dracula Flo himself. Like, could you imagine? Oh, dude.
I feel like Cal gets officially hired here. It's not a dream, but as of right now, does it almost feel like one?
Yes.
It absolutely does to me.
It's 9:35 on Tuesday morning. Matt Jones at Kentucky Sports Radio. As of this morning, Calipari still hasn't informed UK he is resigning. Until that happens, UK has to wait to officially reach out to coaches. Stop. Stop it. Stop. Please stop. This is driving me batshit crazy. Like,
Yeah.
man, this dude is relentless with it. Stop.
He's took a break for the title game.
Gosh, man. It's unreal. Cal will have signed, gotten off the plane in Fayetteville, and called the Hogs. And we're still going to have people in Kentucky. Oh, he still hasn't informed Mitch Barnhart that he's resigning from university. So I don't know. Stop. Like, why does everything have to be so damn complicated with Arkansas all the time?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know,
Gosh,
yeah,
man.
I'm tired of it. But at the same time, like, Kentucky hasn't dealt with this.
True.
I mean,
Yeah. People don't just leave Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't done this in a long, long time.
It's hard for us to grasp some of the things that come with Cal, and it's probably hard for people in Kentucky to grasp the thought of a coach is leaving there.
I mean, it was tough for me to wrap my head around some of the stuff with Eric, and then now I'm just like, I'm really trying to mentally prepare and brace for the event that seems like it's impending.
Yeah, no doubt about it. At any rate,
Big Z's a dream, huh?
Big Z's a dream, dude. Big Z's a dream. On the transfer portal front, now I got to go back to Big Z for a second. Could you imagine? Is he on draft boards?
Not that I'm aware of.
Hey, I know his situation was strange because he couldn't get eligible for the longest. He's an international guy. Like, it wasn't no issues there aside from getting all that stuff worked out. And then he was up and down, but he's so talented, man.
That debut that he had against Georgia was the most electric stretch of basketball I've probably ever watched.
Yes, and we watched it in this office.
We did. We're screaming,
Bush light in hand,
about to get noise complaints.
Yeah, that was a good time. That was incredible.
That
man.
was
Were they
wild.
playing Georgia that day?
Georgia.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah. Then he had 18 points, 4 blocks against Alabama. And he had 12, 9, and 2 blocks in like limited minutes against Arkansas and Rupp. Just did whatever he wanted.
That's might be what I asked Cal about. Just not. Are you going to get him here? And just like, what? Can you just serenade my ears for a minute about Big Z?
Yeah.
Can you just? Oh goodness, man.
You'd be in the right to do that.
Yes. Well, I tell you what, Scottie, we've gone for almost 50 minutes here. I was gonna maybe talk about some potential coaching staff stuff, but maybe we save it.
Yeah, I've been working on that this morning.
Yeah, so we're gonna have plenty to talk about from that standpoint, but very, very hopeful that Brew sticks around. I think there's a decent chance of that happening, and then it seems like Cal's going to at least bring a couple of his guys from Kentucky with him. One other note, we talked about B.J. Freeman a lot, transfer portal-wise. Another nugget that came in today, Wisconsin's A.J. Storr, who's one of the top wings in the portal. There was some recruitment going on with him from Kentucky. You best believe that's going to translate over. A lot of suitors there, but that's you want to talk about dudes. There's a dude. So
it felt like one of the worst kept secrets in the sport that he was trying to get out of Wisconsin ASAP.
Yeah. Exactly. And now that's a thing. So, all right. Well, whenever this breaks, and then again, if it's already happened, you're hearing this and you're going, what's going on? It's Tuesday morning. Whenever it breaks and it's official with Cal, we're going to go live. And then we're just going to, we're going to continue to cover this, what's been an incredibly huge story. Like we said, it's something that just doesn't happen to Arkansas. So it feels surreal, and it probably will continue to even after it's official and done and everything else. But we're excited about it. We're pumped. And as always, we appreciate you guys for rocking with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for putting up with my stuffy nose and constant need for
sleep. I could use some
needing
sleep.
to snort coffee on video.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. All right. Well, we're out of here. We'll be back at some point, probably very soon. Appreciate you guys. For Scottie Borderline, it's been Curtis Wilkerson, Natty State Sports, Pod at the Callus. Catch you guys soon.